Welcome to another episode of the PGTK podcast, an interview podcast. My name is Emmanuel, and on this week's episode, we have Izzy James. Izzy James is a professional wrestler here in Houston, Texas, and his work has been notable with his time with Reality of Wrestling. As we talked about on the last episode, this promotion based in Houston is founded by WWE Hall of Famer and five-time World Heavyweight Champion Booker T. We talk about Izzy's time as he nears his completion in film school, and we talk about a lot of his wrestling stuff too, on how Booker T gives him advice, as well as giving advice to the younger talent over at Reality of Wrestling. We also talk about his favorite game in Starfield, as well as his goals are for 2024. And of course, you can follow this podcast, but most importantly, share this episode with two people to enjoy the episode along with us. And without further ado, here is our conversation with Izzy James. Hey, Izzy, thank you so much for coming today.
Hey, Emmanuel, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. So, first of all, congratulations on your last year at film school. Well, what was that feeling of getting that year done? Because now you're gonna face real life soon.
So I'm still my last year of film school. This is like I have this spring semester and then I have my fall semester. I was hoping to graduate a little bit early, but I have one last class I have to do. So I'm hoping they'll offer it during the summer, but I doubt it. So I'm excited. I'm really excited to be done and out of school. I've been in school for 4 years now, and I'm ready to get back into the working field. I have a background in film and production from when I was in high school. Before I got to the music business, before I got to the wrestling business, I was learning how to be a camera operator. So it's full circle.
And what was that one film that got you into filmmaking?
Man, there's a lot of really good films out there. And if I was to have to say what got me back into it, like what really made me want to jump back into it was Inception. Inception was such a deep, rooted film. I was really impressed with the storytelling. I know a lot of people get confused about it. But I thought it was really good. And also Interstellar. Interstellar was another really good film that I liked and I take with me. And then I'm a big comedy fan. I love comedies. So any Grandma's Boy is one of my favorite movies.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got a lot of inspiration.
Have you done projects on your own while at film school, or was this something that you've been doing this all your life, basically?
So I was doing it in high school for a little while, and after I graduated high school, I had the opportunity to go to a university or a community college up in my hometown, and I decided I was going to take a year off from school and just I would go back after that year, and that year turned into 13 years, and so finally I jumped back into it. And so I originally was going to school for physical therapy. I was going to try to go into the physical therapy world because I was already a personal trainer. I've been doing that for 2.5 years, and I kind of understood that side of the job. And what the best part about that job was the rewarding feeling of helping somebody through an injury or a limitation. And so that's why I wanted to go into physical therapy, but I quickly learned that I'm not a science geek. I'm not one of those people that can it's very hard for me to go through biology classes and chemistry and all that stuff. And so I switched my major after I didn't get into the program. I worked really hard, studied, passed all the tests and all that stuff, and then I didn't get into the medical program. So I took a semester off and decided, I have a history and a background in film and production, and I'm already editing videos on my phone already through the Splice app in iMovie. So I'm why not already use that resource and see what I can make out of that.
What would keep you going, especially going through film school? Like, what was the one motivation that says, "Hey, I want to finish this from start to end"?
It had to be my mom. She
Mm.
passed away in 2020 when I had just started school, and she passed away suddenly. And so like my mom, she didn't even graduate high school. She like she
Ah.
was so she was like pushing me really hard to like finish, like go back to school, and like was really proud of me for doing so. And so after she passed, it was one of those things that, like, I have to do this. I have to finish this, yeah, and see this through.
And like, do you plan on making your own films down the line as soon as you graduate, or do you want to just dig in deep and do other productions before doing things on your own?
So I've done some like short films with my
Mm.
student class, my student project. Um, One of my favorite ones that I did was called The Booking. It was based around pro wrestling. Basically, a guy gets a booking that's
Mm.
too good to be true, and is like uh, he meets his opponent, and his opponent's drinking on the job, and so he goes to the booker, and the booker's like, you know what, you're gonna work him, so I'm paying you, you're gonna work him anyways, and so that's the premise of the film. But it was one of my favorite things. I wrote the script for it. I directed it. I shot the
Mm.
footage, and then I edited it as well. So I did all of that. And I think I'd like to get my hands a little dirty with some more productions, get some more set life. Like work as a PA, do some grip work, do some lighting work, do some camera work here and there, and really uh, put some notches under my belt as far as work goes.
Yeah, and the film commission has been a big help too, especially with the strike being over. Now there's a lot of these projects showing up, and I was fortunate enough to work in Austin and at Troublemaker, working on Hypnotic with Robert Rodriguez, and it's an interesting experience working on set. I worked in the production office, so it's not really working things on set, but rather I got to see things behind the scenes, especially with the film commission finally booting everything up, especially with the strike being over. There's going to be all these film projects. So yeah, there's plenty of opportunities, just a matter of when and where those projects will come in. So, but at least
And
now you've cut your teeth doing editing work and doing your own thing. So at least you have this foundation so that when you do go to set, it's gonna be easier to learn things on the fly, and hopefully you'll make your own film. You'll get funded. You never know.
yeah, hopefully one of these days.
Yeah.
I have like two scripts that I've been working on that are in the bank right now, and I'm sitting on them right now. I want to finish them, but like I've just been so preoccupied with other classwork that I've had to do for different classes, work plus wrestling and all the other things that life throws at your way.
And I'm curious too, because we're going to talk about your wrestling stuff too. Like, how has having your time working in films, and how does that corroborate with what you're doing in the wrestling business?
So when it comes to like pro wrestling, I noticed that there's a lot of jobs on the back end for guys. Like I've been a pro wrestler for 13 years now, going on 14 years. And,
Mm,
my body has been feeling it, so it's
right.
getting, I'm, I just turned 36. So like, I'm thinking
Mm,
about the back end of things and where I can go and where I can be utilized in a different way, but still within the business that I love and that I want to be a part of.
mm,
It's one thing to go and work at a junkyard, uh, every day
right.
of the week for 9 to 5 and, collect a paycheck, but it's not something you love. It's just something you do, whereas this is something I love and it would be a situation. Oh, I get to go to work today rather than, oh, I have to.
And especially now, like, what kept you what kept you in this business for so long, and what keeps you? And I talk about the same example with the film with you having in film school. what is the one thing that keeps you going in the wrestling business?
The older I've gotten, the more I've learned the meaning behind trust the process. For the first 9 years of my wrestling career, I was, I was grinding. I was traveling up and down the state. I went to London within that first 9 years, and then, I was just,
Right.
I was under the influence of like, people don't really take you super seriously until you've reached 10 years. And when you reach 10 years, people start serious. So I did notice a shift as far as like how people took me uh, more seriously. And then I was able to, garner, pay increases that, I felt were needed here and there, you know. But it was one of those things where I was like, I'm going to grind and I'm going to keep going. I won't reach that point where I have like full respect until I'm like 10 years in. And then, from there, like just keep grinding and keep doing your thing and nose down, you know, one foot in front of the other and keep going. My mom was a big wrestling fan and she was a big part of my life. And so, it's another one of those things where, if I ever feel like, I'm too old or I'm done or that my body can't take it anymore, I always think about her. She kind of wanted me to retire whenever she had found out she had cancer, just because I had already reached 10 years and I had been on TV, I had wrestled for Impact, I had wrestled for WWE, I had wrestled for NWA. AEW hadn't been around for that long, and so she was like, "You proved yourself. You don't have anything more to prove, and hate for you to get hurt doing this." So she was like, in one way, she wanted me to go ahead, put the boots up, and call it a day. But if I was to tell her no, I still got more to prove, she would be right there behind me, pushing me forward.
And it's interesting. You've been under the tutelage. You're part of Reality of Wrestling, and you have a Hall of Famer in Booker T. And I'm sure you've been under you've been under him for a long time. What was the advice that you've gotten from Booker as you got to know him training in Reality of Wrestling?
So Booker's gonna tell you, if there's one thing, it's that you're never tired. In this business, you can go to bed at night, rest your head easy, but like you're never tired. You always have to be 100%. When the cameras are on, when the cameras are off, you are 100. If you are a pro wrestler, you live it, you breathe it, you bleed it. It's one of those things where if you're gonna give it your all, you're gonna give it your all, and you're never tired.
And now we're seeing this newer crop of younger wrestlers that are in Reality of Wrestling. And much like Booker is imparting advice to you, what would you give them as advice? Isn't we're seeing like the likes of Mia Friday, who's still grinding and grinding, much like you were at the beginning. Like, what would you impart advice to them, who's still starting their way into the wrestling business, and what would you give that to them?
I think it's a two-part thing. I would say one would be the trust process, like I learned, because I know how it is coming up in the business and always wondering when is it going to be your time, thinking that you've been passed over a lot, opportunities missed, even though you were there and you gave it your all, just wasn't your time. But always always knowing to try and trust the process. It may not be your time, but your time may come, kind of deal. And I think the other one would be to not take yourself too seriously, because I think that a lot of people get wrapped up in the wins and losses in this business. And like another thing I learned is like wins and losses don't matter. It's the storytelling that matters.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the faces and the heels do their job as far as telling the story and garnering emotion out of the people, and the heel is trying to get the sympathy for the face. The face is trying to get the sympathy from the crowd. And I think a lot of people focus like, oh, I'm losing tonight, so and so. They've only been in the business for like so many months or so many years,
Right.
less than I have, and I'm going under them tonight. I can't do that. Like I've wrestled plenty of guys that have been in for like 1 year, 5 years, 6 years, however long, and had no issue putting them over. As long as I can find a creative way that it works for everybody,
Mm.
I'll I'll work Matt Cardona all the way to a kid, who just started putting a pair of knee pads on.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Like everyone starts somewhere. Everyone starts at zero at one point or another, and that gets built up. And of course, it's never it's always up. It's always the ups and downs. Whenever there's someone who's in the business, and even in life in general, you start off as zero and then you work your way up. Because otherwise, like, how are you gonna learn if there's not much to climb or to fall? Because that's learning to face failure if and accept it, because otherwise, yeah, if there's no movement, there's no movement at all. It's just everything's gonna plateau. So
Absolutely.
like after seeing a lot of your matches, it's like it's kind of nice seeing what you've done within the last year. And I saw a couple of your matches at Reality, and seeing how you're doing things in the ring, and especially with what you're doing now. Like, what would be that match for 2023 for you, whether it's in Reality or somewhere in those lines? What was that one match that made it special for you?
I had some really good
Mm.
matches last year. It'd have to be either one that I had with Eric Lockhart or one that I had Exodus Prime. And Exodus Prime is a kid from Dallas that's just phenomenal. Another one of those guys that's been only doing it for about 5, 6,
Mm.
maybe 6 years at this point, but he gets it, you know. So one of those two matches, I can't really pinpoint which
Mm.
match I had with Eric right now because we had like a series of 3 or 4 over the last like 5, 6 months. But definitely one of those two matches I would say uh, were my like top matches of last year.
And what was that? How did that match? How was that match special? Was it just how things were going as the match went on? What was it? What was so special about it?
It was everything. It was the crowd. It was the chemistry between me and Eric at the time. Just everybody was firing. We were both firing on all cylinders. Character wise, we were both in our element, feeling it. Just really enjoying
Mm.
the moment and enjoying the time that we had out there as performers.
And especially with 2024, the year is still young, and with film school wrapping up, what are some other goals that you have in mind, whether it is in wrestling, professionally, personally? What do you have those goals in mind on your side of the pond?
So goals. I always I think about my wrestling goals first, and my wrestling
Mm.
goals are one always the main goal is to sign a contract with the company. That's the main goal that I write down the whole time. The second one is to go to Japan this year.
Ah.
I've been speaking with a certain somebody who is going to introduce me to some companies out in Japan, and so hopefully you'll see my face with one of those companies that it is kind of prominent out there. So I'm working on that, and I was actually in a very strange conversation, not a strange conversation I would never have expected with
Mm.
Barbarian from WCW. Uh,
Oh, okay. Okay.
and yeah, and he does a tour of Africa in the summer, and so we were gonna do it in 2022, but there was an outbreak of COVID that had hit
Mm.
South Africa at the time, so we didn't go. So I'm trying to get that back, trying to find out if that's going on again. But uh, just trying to wrestle as many places outside of Texas as possible. Try to get to freelance, try to get to DPW, which is out in the I think, North Carolina area.
Mm.
Uh,
Right. Yes.
yeah, and I think it's freelance already. West Coast Pro out there in the California area. I go to Vegas every now and then. I work out there every now and then. So trying to add more places to my list of places that I've been. And like personally, goal wise is obviously graduate from college this year, get my degree finally squared away, and then find a place to work. I probably move from Houston. It'd probably be a move to Austin or somewhere where there's a film, like, a place where I can network and get some work, rather than like Houston's got a small film commission. It's only a little bit of thing, like a little bit of stuff. There's not as many jobs out here as there are, say, in a place like Austin or in California. Even Vegas has movie studios. That would be a goal, and then finally buying a house, because I'm tired of living in apartments.
Right.
Yeah.
That's always the big goal. It's always a big goal.
For sure.
It's a big goal right there. And what's interesting too, like, and we talked about this before we got on, you are a big Starfield guy.
Mm-hmm.
So like, how far are you in the game, or have you completed that already?
I have not completed it. No spoilers, please. I don't know how many. I think I'm only
no. My hands. I beat the game. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut after that point.
So I just finished the Freestar Rangers storyline with all the missions. So I just got that free ship. That's badass. I was very excited to get a brand new ship, because I was running on the Razor Leaf, and that one was getting me through some battles, but it was tough. But
oh my gosh, I had a hard time with the ship battles, because part of it is I tend to explore the cities more.
Yeah.
But like when I got that same ship, oh my goodness, that warp drive can go places.
Yeah.
And I got to get back into it.
Yeah.
And how has that game? Why is that game so unique to you as you started playing it?
I was, I'm a big RPG kind of person. When I played Skyrim, I played like every Fallout that's ever been made. I played them. I played a lot of Metal Gear Solid, and I was actually playing. I had just gone back and started playing Fallout 3 again, and I was playing it, but I was like, this is, it's nostalgic, but it's, I've done this before. I remember when I played through Fallout 3 the first time, I played through it like 3 or 4 more times right after. I played that game so much, so I was looking for something new, and there was No Man's Sky, which is another space game. I played that a little bit, but I didn't get too into it. I didn't it wasn't my cup of tea, I guess. But when I picked up Starfield, it was like a little overwhelming at first, because you get your first mission, and then you get like all these other side missions like right away, just by walking by people. People will be talking, and then all of a sudden, oh, you gotta go talk to Bobby Fish or something like that.
That's so random.
And so some random character, and then all of a sudden you're on this new mission, and I just kept diving further and further into it, and now I'm just the part where the mission's called Unity.
Oh, okay. So you're nope. I'll keep my mouth shut. Nope.
Yeah, I just had one of my main characters die, one of my opposite of the romance characters, because you can romance 3 or 4 of them. One of my romance characters died, and it was like complete shock to me. I was like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
I totally was blown away. I didn't expect it. Totally heart-wrenching moment.
I kept most of my romance. I kept one, but most of them were in the Razor Leaf, because it was just I couldn't get the romance. Once I forgot the name escapes me, but when I had the first time, I was like, yeah, you're all staying in the ship. We're not going anywhere. You'll be stuck there no matter what. And it's interesting too, space exploration has been it's been kind of those genres that can be very hard to approach, but once you get into exploring the different galaxies within Starfield's world, you can get lost.
You
And
really
then next
can.
thing you know, you get sidetracked.
For sure. Yeah, I played Mass Effect, and Mass Effect had a lot of that as well. Mass Effect, I love Mass Effect. It had a
Yeah.
lot of like stellar travel that you could go to different galaxies. But like Starfield's like bigger. It's a bigger
Yes,
universe. There's
absolutely.
so much more to do. Uh, what I think is interesting with Starfield is like with Mass Effect, you have human race plus all the alien races
Mm-hmm.
coexist with. But in Starfield, only the humans have like reached out and like gone to different galaxies due to grav drives and all this and that, and you haven't found aliens just yet. It like without spoiling anything for anybody that watches it and is interested in playing Starfield, like you don't know if you're going to run into aliens with these characters called the what are they called?
Oh,
Oh, the
yeah, I know.
what are they called?
The
Uh,
Collected? No,
the
no, no.
Starborn, the Starborn,
Starboard. Yes, yes, the Starboard.
the
That's what it is.
Starborn.
Yes.
The Starborn. You don't know if they're time travelers or if they're aliens, but yeah,
Yeah, if I say anything
yeah,
further, I'm going to spoil the game. So we'll leave that at
yeah.
that.
It's not.
I got the ending. I was like, yeah, I'm done. And I'm curious too. Would Starfield be the game of the year for you, or were there any other titles that you had in mind? I'll say mine. I'll say mine. So
So I played a lot of NBA 2K, and I played like NHL 2K. I played those, and I played the WWE 2K as well. So I played like a lot of sports games. So like when I play like RPG type games, it's like a few and far kind of in between. And so like the last RPG game that I was playing was like I played some of the Fallout 76, but I didn't like it wasn't as great as Fallout 4 was for me. Fallout 4 was just, like the mecca, and I'm just ready for I'm ready for it's like I would have to give Starfield 2023 game of the year for me. But like in 2025 we're getting GTA 6, and I know I'm going to be dropping $150 for that.
oh my gosh. That trailer blew me away because it's been more than a decade. No, it's more than a
Way more,
decade. Dear Lord, I forgot when
like
GTA
15 years.
5. Yeah, and I still play it. I still play GTA Online just because I did the nightclub owner on GTA Online. I was just it's fun being the menace of like handing out flyers to promote your club. So it's one of those games where you're like, you can be a menace, but
Yeah.
don't be a prick about it. And there, people do get to you. It's like,
Yeah.
well, I tried. So, but with GTA 6, oh my gosh, GTA 6 is going to be very interesting because now we're seeing, because GTA 5 is in Los Santos, now we're
Yeah.
doing Vice City. How has that world changed within the 40 years of Vice City? Like that setting between like the 80s to
Right.
like present day. And a lot of the tech that they have is interesting. The videos you see on the trailer, you swear it's like from a TikTok. It's insane. It's insane. But like my game of the year I played Starfield is number 2. Number 1, and this is gonna be a hot take from anybody, crossing fingers. No, it's not a hot take because there's a lot of people who have received it, and it's Liza P. The Pinocchio Dark Souls like RPG, and the game world is very dark, but at the same time it's one of those titles where the story got interesting as the game went on. And if you're into like Dark Souls, like those Bloodborne type titles where like patience is rewarded, I'm one of those guys who, when I see a boss, I cataloged everything on X/Twitter. Like I cataloged all my boss wins because I'm like, dude, I want to record this. And the reason why it's such a game of the year for me, because no other game has ever caught my attention as much as Liza P. It's a close tie between Starfield and Liza P, but Liza P, especially with what they've done in the world, you thought it was a From Software game. If someone gave a blind test and they show like Elden Ring and Liza P, and they're not aware that it's not a FromSoft game, they would have blown their minds away. So it's still on Game Pass. I bought the game as soon as I finished it. I got a new Game Plus run, which I'll never do again because life. But it's been a fun title for for this year. 2024 is going to get stacked for me because Rebirth is coming out on February 29th, and I am not ready. I will have to buy a box of Kleenex because that story's going to get crazy.
What is Rebirth? What is Rebirth?
Final Fantasy 7 remake. That's the second.
Oh,
That's the second.
oh,
So the way the story's been done with Final Fantasy Rebirth, it'll be like the Empire Strikes Back of that trilogy. Because remake, the first one is gonna be like A New Hope. Rebirth is gonna be Empire. Where I think what they're gonna do, hopefully it won't get ruined, but it's just the way that they're setting things up in the trailers. Everything's going to go downhill in that third part, which will be out in 2027. I'm going to say that right now. It's going to be like the resolution for that trilogy. So, but I can't wait. That was the only title I was looking forward to this year with Rebirth, because it's going to be huge. And as a big JRPG fan, like I can't wait for them to actually get into like an actual game like that, of that size. Like if you've seen the trailers, yeah, go watch it. It's huge.
is that going to be on PlayStation?
Correct. Yes, it'll be on PS5.
Okay, because I have a PS5, so I know the wife is going to want to play that. She's a big Final Fantasy fan.
Oh yeah, it's going to be great. And like the trailer is on its own.
Yeah.
It's hyped up already, so it's going to be an interesting.
Yeah.
This year is going to be stacked too. So, but yeah, I'm going to wait for GTA 6 as much as the next guy. But February 29th is coming in very soon.
You're going to be preoccupied for a while with that one.
Oh, exactly. So,
very good.
Yeah. So, we're gonna wrap up our conversation. Oh, first of all, thank you so much, Izzy, for taking the time to be on this episode.
Oh, absolutely. It's my pleasure. I'm glad we finally linked up.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, and I appreciate taking the time to talk about everything that you're doing in wrestling and film school and everything in between. And I want to end this conversation like this. The World Health Organization listed adolescents between the ages of 10 and 19. Now, between those age ranges, people grow up at those different stages in life. Now, if you can see Izzy James at the age of 18, who is starting up adulthood, but now you're learning more things in life, what would you give him as advice?
Oh man, it would be go to school right away. Go to school right away.
Touché.
Don't wait 13 years. Don't wait 13 years until you're in your 30s to go back to school. Because now I just feel like I feel like even though I did a lot of I did a lot of good with going to school for the last 4 years. Like my 30s were spent in school, and like for a lot of people my age that I went to school with, those people like have kids in the house, and like they have a career that they kind of step their feet in. And so I went down a different path, and so for me it's it goes back to that trust the process that I learned through wrestling. It's not only valuable to use that in wrestling, but it's valuable to use it in life, just because you don't realize how much you're going to grow and learn just in 4 years, 5 years. The 18-year-old me was different than the 25-year-old. The 25-year-old me was different than 27, the 28, 29. Like it wasn't until I got into my 30s, oh okay, like I kind of get life, you know what I mean, or I feel like I'm kind of getting it. But I think looking back, there's a lot of things that I did when I was younger that I probably wouldn't do now. You know what I mean? Whatever that may be, but it's being able to like wake up every day and like be a better person more than day.
That's a good send off there. But yeah, thank you so much for having you on, Izzy. You I had another recording, it just blew my mind. It's like, this is the second time someone will do that. So, but otherwise, you have the floor. Where can we find you if you have any upcoming events? You have the floor, and take it away.
All right. So you can find me on X. You can find me on Instagram. Both those are going to be at Izzy James EW. I am on Pro Wrestling Tees. Just type in Izzy James. You can find my store. I have about 6 shirt designs. You can also find me on TikTok. I believe it's also Izzy James _PW. I do a thing on TikTok where I talk to people about music called 6 Songs. We talk about 3 songs, a hype song, an oldie but a goodie, and a guilty pleasure, and everybody has fun with it. You can find me on all those apps, but also you can check me out on Reality of Wrestling TV on CW Network. Check your local listings for your channels, because I don't know wherever you are, I don't know your channel, but it's different in every town. You can check me there, but if you don't have the cable ability to get it on there, you can check me out on YouTube on Reality of Wrestling. But next event that I'll be at is for 360 Pro Wrestling over in Temple, Texas. After that, it's back to Reality of Wrestling. I'm going to make some more ruckus and cause some more damage at Inspire Pro until they get my job back.
And that is our conversation with Izzy James. And you can tell from this conversation how much he's put his heart and soul into the wrestling business and trusting the process of becoming a professional wrestler, that he's really had success along the way. And you can tell that he is trying a lot of new things past wrestling and really learning the film industry. So I do wish him the best and continued success, not only in the wrestling ring, also in the film industry. And with Elimination Chamber being less than a week away, we are bringing in a guest who will cover that with me on next week's episode. Again, I won't tell you who that is, so you'll have to figure out who that is next week. And you can follow the PGTK podcast on all our social platforms on X, Instagram, as well as Spotify and Threads, which I nearly forgot, at PGTK Pod. Send us an email at pgtkpod@gmail.com for any comments, questions, as well as if you want to be a guest on this podcast. Leave us a 5-star review, and as I mentioned before, share this episode with 2 people so that they can enjoy the episode along with us. And as always, thank you so much for listening. Be awesome with each other, and I'll see you on the next episode of the PGTK podcast, an interview podcast.